Welcome back to Lesson 10, Peer Review and Final Revisions. In part 2 of this lesson, we're going to start discussing how to complete a peer review. So, anyone who writes can ask a peer to read their draft whenever it's finished. After evaluating the feedback and assessing what is most helpful, the reader's feedback helps you, the writer, revise your draft. This process is called peer review. You basically get feedback from another person, typically in your class, on ways to improve your essay. Completing a peer review. You can work with a partner in your class and identify specific ways to strengthen each other's essays. Although you may be uncomfortable sharing your writing at first, remember that each writer is working toward the same goal, a final draft that fits the audience and the purpose. Maintaining a positive attitude when providing feedback will put you and your partner at ease. We're going to discuss the framework that can be used to make peer review useful and easy. So here in the next few slides, you'll see I introduce quite the framework with multiple different questions on peer review that peers can ask each other when providing feedback and criticism on an essay. So these are kind of your introductory questions. What's the title of the essay? What date? Who's the writer? Who's the reviewer? What's the essay about? What are the main points? What do you like most about the essay? And think this is not necessarily an opinion question. It's more so what is effective in this essay, not, oh, I like or I dislike something. The framework tool continues with 3 points that struck me as strongest from the person who is reviewing the article. And then you'll see places in the essay that were not as clear and why they need improvement. And then it ends with one additional change you could make that would improve your essay significantly. So these are some overall general framework questions that can be asked in a peer review for improvement to an essay. One of the reasons why word processing programs build in a reviewing feature is that work groups have become a common feature in many businesses. So it's not just something that you do in the classroom as far as reviewing, right? This is something that you will use as a tool when you're working in collaborative groups in the workplace as well. Writing is often collaborative, and the members of the work group and their supervisors often critique group members' work and offer feedback that will lead to a better final product. So it's something that you have to get used to in school as well as in the workplace. Using feedback objectively. The purpose of peer feedback is to receive constructive criticism of your essay. Your peer reviewer is your first real audience, and you have the opportunity to learn what confuses and delights a reader so that you can improve your work before sharing the final draft with a wider audience, your intended audience. It may not be necessary to incorporate every recommendation your peer reviewer makes. However, if you start to observe a pattern in the responses you receive from peer reviewers, you might want to consider that feedback in future assignments. For example, if you read consistent comments about a need for more research, then you may want to consider including more research in future assignments. Using feedback from multiple sources. So you might get feedback from more than one reader as you share different stages of your revised draft. In this situation, you may receive feedback from readers who do not understand the assignment or who lack your involvement with an enthusiasm for it. So this is something to take into consideration if you're getting feedback from someone outside of your class. As well as if you're getting feedback from someone who has their own personal feelings toward what you're writing about. You have to be careful about those two things. You need to evaluate the responses you receive according to 2 important criteria. Determine if the feedback supports the purpose of the assignment. Determine if the suggested revisions are appropriate to the audience. Then use those standards to accept or reject any feedback that you get for revision. Revising and editing are stages of the writing process in which you improve your work before producing the final draft. Unity in writing means that all the ideas in each paragraph in the entire essay clearly belong together and are arranged in an order that makes logical sense, right? We're just reviewing the key takeaways from this lesson. Coherence in writing means that the writer's wording clearly indicates how one idea leads to another within a paragraph and between paragraphs. Continued takeaways, transitional words and phrases effectively make writing more coherent. Writing should be clear and concise with no unnecessary words. Effective formal writing uses specific, appropriate words and avoids slang, contradictions, cliches, and overly general words. Peer reviews done properly can give writers objective feedback about their writing. It is the writer's responsibility to evaluate the results of peer reviews and incorporate only useful feedback. So just because you get feedback from a peer review, it does not mean that you have to incorporate everything that they say. You have the discretion to determine what is useful feedback and what is not feedback as you implement those pieces of feedback for revision. All right, now we're to the part where we're at your exit ticket for lesson 10. In this exit ticket, you are going to be providing a classmate, an imaginary classmate, with feedback on their essay. So you will have a copy of the questions for peer review, organization, unity, and coherence, and that is basically these questions here in the slides that we went over previously. So you'll be provided a copy of those questions, and the essay title is also provided. The essay is going to be in the lesson 10 folder, and it's about how to travel solo successfully. So you're going to read that essay, and you're going to use the the peer review tool framework to provide that imaginary author with feedback on their essay. And that's going to be your exit ticket for lesson 10, peer review and final revisions.